everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of Joe Knows. This is the Toils Titles NFL Show, Wednesday nights, starting around 8-ish. Hello to everybody, and thank you for joining me. My millions of fans, I greatly appreciate it. And just want to say, listen, before I get into the actual show today, I'm going to recap, give you my opinion on the Week 17 games and my picks on the Week 18 games. Before I do that, before I do the bells and whistles, I just want to give my condolences to the Damar Hamlin family. Speaking for myself and everyone here at Toilets and Titles, our prayers and condolences to both Damar and his family for obviously everything that Damar's going through, what the family's going through. We're all pulling for him to get right, and we'll see how everything goes. Thank God right now he's still alive, and hopefully it gets better. I haven't checked too much. I haven't had a chance to check the news on Damar Hamlin today. It's my understanding things are going better. I don't know what that means for the long term, but again, just speaking for myself and everyone here to all us titles, our prayers and condolences are with Damar Hamlin and his family. They pull through completely, and and just that everything gets back to normal for him. Whether he's going to wind up back in the NFL field, nobody really cares about that. It's about his health and being okay. Let's get to that. But again, it was horrible what happened on Monday. It was just a freak accident. And listen, NFL can be a violent sport. It is a violent sport, but that was just a freak accident and a freak occurrence. And anyway, but before I did everything else, I just want to lead the show off with that, and that's it. And I see you got a bunch of comments, guys. I'm going to get to the comments in 1 second. Let me just get the bells and whistles out of the way. Please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, give us that 5-star Apple review. Doesn't take long at all, especially just to hit the like button. It takes a second just to push up a button, boop, and that's it. Subscribe, we really appreciate it. We're up to almost 875 subscribers on YouTube, where I have a feeling by the time around draft time, we're going to be at 1,000 or beyond 1,000. So we're getting there. We're getting there. But every subscription counts. We really appreciate it. And again, if you have like 30 seconds to spare, five star Apple review, all those things really help the show. Helps us grow. Where you can find the show: Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Facebook, Podbean, and Spotify. Our website, we've got like 15 contributors here at Toilets to Titles. Some of us do videos, some of us do articles, some of us do both. And whatever we produce, wherever we originally put it out, it all winds up on our beautiful, wonderful website, toiletstotitles.com. Go there. I'm so proud of that website. I absolutely love it. It has all of our material. And last but not least, patreon.com/toiletstotitles. If you go there, you can learn how you can further support our show and everything else we produce. And I want to give a big shout out to our current Patreon supporters. Thank you. We appreciate that you appreciate us. Thank you so much. And that's it. And before I get into the actual content, let me check out the comments over here. Chris's videos. Hey, Chris, good to see you, man. Our #1 subscriber. And we love Chris's videos, man. This is one smart kid. Young man knows his football. And George Reed, starting around 8. That's right, George, because listen, George, I had my son's orthodontist appointment at 6:30, didn't until like 7:30. I had to come back. I had to get my picks ready. So, and I had to get my iced coffee. I had to get Melvin settled in. So there's the Melvin factor as well. So that's why I said starting around 8. I should have said 8-ish. And George Reed, love you, man. George is one of our big time contributors here at Toss Titles. Great guy, big heart, big dude, and very, very knowledgeable football fan. Chris's videos, yeah, Chris, man, I hear you. Chris says he feels so bad for Damar. Prayers for him every day. I'm with you, Chris. I'm with you, man. We're all pulling for Damar. It's horrible. Yeah, prayers up, George. And for T. Higgins' mental health, yep, I hear you, man. I hear you. It's I haven't really followed that with everything going on with Damar, and obviously, and just everything going on with just playoffs, and also just for me for work and wrapping up the holiday stuff and just other stuff going on. I haven't really caught up on what's going on with T. Higgins. I saw something here or there. I'm sorry to say, I just haven't been able to catch up what's going on with T. Higgins, but I will. I will. Yep, poor T. Okay, guys. All right, so let's get into the show over here. Okay, so week 17, what a banger. This is a heck of a week. We're wrapping up the season. I remember like 4 weeks ago saying, man, I'm kind of getting ready to wrap up, this year, the season 2022, and can't wait for the playoffs. So the playoffs are almost here. Things are still hot. Things are still unsettled. We love that. And we're going into week 18, the final week. So many things still unsettled in terms of playoff spots and seeding. Who's going to make the playoffs? Also seeding as well. It's getting crazy. It looked, for one example, it looked like the Eagles were going to have everything sewn up for the number one seed overall in the NFC. That they're probably still going to get it because they're playing my team, the Giants, and Giants really aren't on that level. And I don't think the Giants are going to be. I think they're going to be. I get the suspicion that the Giants are going to be playing most of the starters at least for the first quarter to see how things go. But there are guys that are going to be sitting, such as I believe like Saquon Barkley, who's been playing. I think the last like 5 weeks, a little banged up. Leo Williams, big time player on their defense. He's been playing with a burner, so I think they're going to sit him and probably a Dory Jackson. He'll play a quarter. He's been out for like 6 weeks with a knee injury. They may play him for a quarter to like get the rust off. But I mean, really, listen. I love my team, but I don't think they can really compete with the Eagles at full health anyway. But the Eagles are definitely playing for something. They're playing for the number one seed. So and I think the Giants are probably just gonna, maybe start most of their starters first quarter, see how it goes, and from there probably sit those guys. Anyway, but the Cowboys, the Cowboys have been staying strong. They Cowboys have really impressed what they did this year. Remember like the first 6 weeks, Dak missed those games with an injury, and Cowboys were able to, they went like 4-2 and 5-1, 5-1, something like that. And here they are, 12-4, within striking distance of the number one seed in the NFC for throughout the entire playoffs. If they win, if the Eagles somehow lose, the Cowboys will get the number one seed. I believe. I believe they're in position to get that if the Eagles do lose and the Cowboys win. But they defeated the now 7-9 Titans, 27-13. Not a surprise here. Titans were completely outmatched. It is what it is. The Titans are. I am excited to talk about the Jaguars, who've taken over the lead in that division, AFC South. But I don't want to spend too much time on this game here. This was obvious. It was going to be an obvious result here. Cowboys are rocking and rolling. They're healthy. I think even with the Cowboys and the Eagles, say fully healthy, say Hurts is fully healthy for the playoffs, I still think the Cowboys, they're my number one team in the NFC. I think they match up with the Eagles. Not every team's going to match up with the Eagles, but I think the Cowboys do. And I think the Cowboys are good enough on both sides of the football, offense and defense, that I think if they meet in the playoffs, my money's going to be on the Cowboys actually to win that playoff game. And anyway, so just moving on. So I really want to talk more about the Cowboys and their resiliency through the season, and especially getting through like those first 6 games where Dak was hurt, getting a good record anyway, and you know either in having a chance to get the number one seed at the end of the season here. Okay, the Falcons. I see there's a comment there. I'm going to get to it in 1 second. Okay, the 6-10 Falcons defeated the now 4-12 Cardinals, 20 to 19. I don't want to spend too much game on this either. Falcons again. I give them kind of props every week. I call them the Fighting Falcons because this team keeps fighting. They get their share of wins, and they started off better this season than many people expected, but they wound up being 6-10, and that is what they are. They're still a rebuilding team. I like a lot of the young talent that the Falcons actually are accumulating, but they've got to wait. They've got a ways to go. The Cardinals are reeling. Obviously, Murray is out, but nothing's been right for the Cardinals this entire season. And I see reports today. I've been seeing reports today that Cliff Kingsbury may be fired or is expected to be fired at the end of the season. I think that's a mistake. I don't understand the dislike for Cliff Kingsbury. I think he's actually done a very good job of building a good young Cardinals team over there. And listen, basically anything that could have went wrong for the Cardinals this year went wrong. DeAndre Hopkins was suspended at the beginning of the season. I forgot what the reason was. Probably PED. He was suspended. That's a huge blow. I know they traded for Hollywood Brown in the off season. I think around draft night they gave up a first round, which was ridiculous. Nothing against Hollywood Brown. He's a pretty good receiver. He was never worth a first round pick. That was insane. They picked up Hollywood Brown. He's been injured. I think he's out. He's been out now for a while. He's kind of an injury-prone receiver anyway. But nothing's been going right for the Cardinals the entire season. I wouldn't get rid of Cliff Kingsbury this year. I think he's actually done a good job with the Cardinals. People were crapping on that hire from day one, and he actually turned the Cardinals around pretty damn well with the help of Kyler Murray. So I'd give him at least one more season. I really don't understand the rationale behind firing Cliff Kingsbury if it does happen. But anyway, the Cardinals are just winding down the season. It's been a disaster from the beginning of the year for them, but there's no way I would fire Cliff Kingsbury just yet. All right, let's move on. The Lions are 8-8. They defeated the now 3-13 Bears 41-10. The Bears will have a chance at the number one overall draft pick. If Houston wins next week's game and if the Bears lose their game next week, um, maybe I'm wrong about that because maybe I'm wrong about that. I think Houston, maybe they have the number one overall pick cemented. So I remember they do have a tie there. So you know what? We'll see. We'll see later when I get to the Houston record. But anyway, the Lions are 8-8. They've got an interesting matchup coming up with the Packers. These matchups in Week 18 are pretty damn cool. There are a lot of really good matchups with teams who have a chance, who are, like the Packers are and the Lions are playing. Basically, I think whoever wins that game, I think is in. I know if the Packers win, they're in. They've got that final seed in the and that final spot in the NFC. Um, I think they would have. I think they would have it over Seattle, I believe. So, but anyway, if the Lions win next week, either they're in or they're going to have a chance to be in. I guess depending upon what happens to Seattle. But the Lions are still taking care of business, man. What a great season for the Lions, regardless of what happens to them making the playoffs or not. This has been a great season for Detroit. Their young talent is coming to fruition. It is bearing fruit, and they've got really good playmakers. Really like it a lot. They're building the team well. They're physical. They're getting physical in the trenches. They've got some good young star talent. Obviously with DeAndre Swift. Obviously with Amon-Ra St. Brown, who I absolutely love. Um, but they've got it on both sides of the ball. Need to build up their defense somewhat, but Detroit's defense has gotten better as the season has gone along. But anyway, they defeated the Bears 41-10. Bears, I don't think Justin Fields is going to be playing the final game of the season. Bears are 3-13. They're wrapping up this season. But you know what? Thing about the Bears fans, like I said last week, you got your franchise quarterback. That's all that matters. Justin Fields is your franchise quarterback. You're going to be drafting probably number two, I guess. And either you can take a great player at number two, or even better, probably trade back a little bit to a team that is QB hungry, that's QB needy, and get some first round picks, man, and really kickstart that rebuild. But Bears, you know what? The key thing for this year is Justin Fields is, now after this season, I believe it's safe to write it in stone. Justin Fields is your franchise quarterback for the next like 12 to 15 years. But Lions, man, what a good season. Regardless of what happens with the Lions making the playoffs or not making it, the Lions, man, I love the way this team is trending, the way they're building. I do believe in their head coach. I believe in the talent in their team. I believe in their GM. And I believe in Jared Goff, who's had a renaissance over there. What a cool story. Everyone wrote Jared Goff off, poor guy traded from sunny, beautiful Los Angeles to, cold, at least in the fall and winter, cold Detroit. Figured he was done. Figured the Lions didn't even really want him, and here he is having one of the best years, one of the best seasons for a quarterback in 2022. Goff has definitely been one of the better quarterbacks this year, having a great year, and I'll tell you, a renaissance for that guy, man, and nobody was expecting it. So cool for him. Cool for him. All right, you know what? And before I cover the Chiefs game, let me get the comment over here. Chris's videos says the Damar Hamlin family is frustrated by the media's attack on T. You know what, Chris? I really don't know anything about T. Higgins, man. I don't know what's going on with that. I gotta say, like, I was, when it came to some, negative football news, I was focused on Damar, and then I just have other stuff going on with work, so and just doing stuff with the family and like post holiday stuff, so cleaning up and stuff like that. So honestly, I have to say I'm really not aware of the T. Higgins situation. So I am sorry to say. But after this episode, I am gonna look into it because I really didn't know much about it. Okay, guys. So let's get on to the Chiefs. Okay, They took care of business against the Broncos. It was a close one, 27-24. Chiefs are now 13-3, and the Broncos are 4-12. I gotta say, Broncos are 4-12. Russell Wilson, thank God, at least for Broncos fans and the Broncos organization, Russell Wilson has been playing a lot better over the past like 5 or 6 weeks. The offense has been better. Russ Wilson's been a lot better. He was atrociously bad for at least the first half of the season. That's why the Broncos were 4-12. He has been a lot better over the past like 4 or 5, maybe the last 4 weeks. So I think that bodes well for next year. I'm not writing anything in stone for Russ for next year. If Denver, I don't think they have a first round pick this upcoming year. They probably gave it to Seattle. I'm assuming to Seattle for Russ. But if Denver does have a first round pick early in 2023, I'd be looking to take a young quarterback if available. I know they signed Russ to that huge contract, but if you've got like that number 3 pick overall and there's a quarterback there, and I don't think the Broncos do, but I may not be recalling correctly. If the Broncos still have their draft pick for 2023, they got to be looking to take a young quarterback just in case, because even though Russ has got a lot of guaranteed money, there's no way I'm gonna risk it if I have a chance to get a young quarterback, a pretty on the cheap, for early first round pick. But Russ Wilson's looked a lot better over the past few weeks. The Broncos have been putting up points, so that does bode better for next year for the Broncos. So we'll see. But the Chiefs took care of business. They are in good position to get the number 1 overall seed in the AFC, depending upon what happens with the Bills. I think the NFL still hasn't decided what's going to happen with that Bills Bengals game. I would imagine it's got to be made up somehow. Listen, this is the NFL. It's a major sport. There's a lot riding on that game. So, I would assume that the Bills Bengals game has to be continued at some point. I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. But right now, the Chiefs, they have the number 2 spot, at least I believe, sewn up the AFC, and they may possibly get the number 1 seed overall. Okay, so let's move on to the Patriots. 8-8, man. They're still in the playoff picture. They defeated the Dolphins, who are now 8-8. They're still in the playoff picture, 23-21. Doesn't look good for the Dolphins. Obviously, Tua, everything going on with Tua, concussions. He's definitely not playing this upcoming week. Dolphins are in a lot of trouble. They're probably not going to be making the playoffs this year. I believe the Dolphins, maybe I'm wrong about this, I believe they can be playing like the third string quarterback as their starter this in week 18, I believe. But anyway, the Patriots, 23-21, man, they took care of business. Patriots are like I've always said about Bill Belichick. It's like, listen, this is not a super talented team at all on the Patriots, but he still has them hanging around. They're still in the playoff picture, and they defeated the Dolphins 23-21. Prayers up for Tua too, man. He's a solid dude. Really like Tua a lot, and he is a damn good quarterback. Listen, you give the guy some talented wide receivers, and he makes things happen. We saw that when he was healthier. For the first half of the year, Dolphins were rocking and rolling. Beat the they beat the Bills in like week 3 or week 4 in Miami. Dolphins were taking on everyone. Kicking people's they were kicking other teams' asses and taking names and kicking asses. Dolphins were looking really good. Um, so it's a shame that they fall to 8-8. Obviously, that's really revolves around Tua and his injuries, his concussions specifically. So it's sad to see, but I'm rooting for Tua. He's a solid dude. He is a good quarterback. You give him a little protection, you give him those super weapons like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and the dude was making things happen. And he did look like a franchise quarterback. But listen, he's extremely injury prone, and it's very worrisome. We'll see what happens there. Okay, so let's move on to my New York Giants, who are now 9-6-1. They defeated the now 4-11-1 Colts 38-10. Giants took control of this game early, like I haven't seen the Giants do in probably since like 2011. Oh, it's been a really long time. Even 2016 when they made the playoffs, I think a lot of their games were close. It's not like their offense was kicking butt in 2016, even though they had OBJ and Eli. Like, it was really in 2016 for the Giants. The story of that team was actually the strength of that team was actually the defense. But anyway, my point being that this is the first time I can remember in a long time the Giants actually, winning in a rout took control of the game early, took control of their destiny early. And it felt so good as a Giants fan to be able to kick back, relax, actually enjoy a blowout. It's been so long. And enjoy a blowout when you've got a playoff spot riding on it too. So if you win, you're in. If you win, you're in. Giants won, they're in the playoffs. I think they've got the number 6 seed cemented. I think regardless of what happens the Eagles game, the upcoming Eagles game, whether they lose or win, I think the Giants have the number 6 seed. Not does We don't know yet who they're playing, but anyway, the Colts 4-11-1. Obviously, the Colts are a better team on paper than this. Um, they're easily a team next year that could have a that could bounce back big time. We'll see what happens with the quarterback situation. I don't blame Jim Irsay, the owner of the team, for being really upset with the quarterback situation, basically going from veteran quarterback to veteran quarterback to veteran quarterback. I'd be sick of it too if I were him. Colts, they'll be taking a quarterback early in the first round this year. Good for them. Just finish off this year. It's been a disappointing year for the Colts, but again, I believe this is a team that can really seriously turn things around next year with the right quarterback pick in the first round. Because we all know, just because you take a quarterback early in the first round doesn't mean that quarterback is going to succeed. They got to get the right head coach in there, and they've got to get the right offensive coordinator. They really got to get this right. You see what happened with Daniel Jones, just as one example, Daniel Jones and the Giants. When you got Brian Dable here, you got Kafka. You get the coaching means everything, or almost everything at least. You got to get it right. And Colts, you got to get, I think, a proven head coach, and definitely like one of those really up and coming bright minds on the offensive side of the ball to help out your quarterback grow. And so I think the Colts are in good position if they can get the right quarterback early in the first round for them. They get the good coach. They get some good head coach and a good offensive coordinator. They've got talent, pretty much scattered around all over the place. They're a solid team on both sides of the ball. They're a solid team on paper. They are. The wide receivers, I think they could use an upgrade, but they're not bad. And they've got some really good running backs. Obviously, headlined by Jonathan Taylor if he's healthy. But defensive side of the ball, they have talent too. So the Colts, I think, could really turn it around next year. But let's get that quarterback right, and let's get that head coach and offensive coordinator right. You got to support when you're drafting a young quarterback. You got to support the guy any which way. Weapons, protection, everything, and above all, good development coaches and play calling. Okay, so let's move on to this game over here. The 7-9 Saints upset the 13-3 Eagles 20-10. Ramifications are huge. If I'm Eagles fans, I'm not sweating this upcoming game with the Giants. I love my Giants. I'm so proud of the season they had. But even if the Giants were starting, a fully healthy squad, all their starters from first quarter through the end of the game, the Eagles are a level above my team. And but I don't think the Giants. I think they're gonna be sitting some key players throughout the entire game. They may start. I think a lot of their best players like Daniel Jones, Andrew Thomas, but there's some guys that have been playing injured, like Leo Williams, Saquon Barkley. He's been banged up. Adoree Jackson, who I think is pretty good to come back, but he's been coming back from a knee injury. Maybe they'll play him for like a quarter to knock off the rust. I don't think he's gonna. Those guys will play like an entire game at all. So I'd like to see the Giants start who they can, most of the starters, the guys that are healthy. Sit the starters, the key starters that they need, such as Adoree Jackson, Leo Williams, Saquon Barkley. Sit them. Don't start them at all. But the other starters, I want to get. I want to go to battle with the Eagles a little bit, and I want to keep these guys sharp. So who knows? Maybe things break the Giants' way. I wouldn't count on it. Eagles would be gonna. They're gonna be looking to put the pedal to the metal. Take control of this game early like they normally do, cement that number one overall seed. So I don't think the game's going to be particularly close, but the Eagles did put themselves in jeopardy by losing to the Saints 20-10. And honestly, I think the Saints stink. I think they stink. I really do. And Eagles had no business losing. I don't care that Hurts wasn't the starting quarterback. Doesn't matter. Eagles had no business losing this game. That's crazy. That's crazy. That number one seed should have been sewn up right here in this game. That is absolutely crazy. Um, All right, the 8-8 Buccaneers defeated the now 6-10 Panthers 30-24. Sam Darnold had a good game. Everyone's talking about Sam Darnold. I'll get to Sam Darnold in a second because I always liked him actually. The Buccaneers, I believe, have sewn up first place in the NFC South, so they'll be going to the playoffs. Buccaneers had a rough year, but they did, regardless of whether or not they win or lose. In Week 18, I believe the Buccaneers had the AFC South sewn up, so they're definitely going to the playoffs. The Panthers, it's funny how things actually they've been playing better ever since they got rid of Baker, ever since they got rid of their head coach. They've been playing. They've been playing, and ever since they got rid of Christian McCaffrey, they've actually been playing better. They've gotten a few wins since then, and the Panthers are 6-10. Panthers are another team that actually has some good talent on both sides of the ball, especially on the defense. Um, I just want to say, hats off to Sam Darnold. He had a really good game in this loss against the Buccaneers. I know they didn't win, but Darnold did have a good game. He looked really good. And he's actually someone like, man, coaching matters. It really means so much. And bad coaching and bad GMs just absolutely destroy careers. I think I was never as high on Sam Darnold as quite a few experts were in that particular draft class. I liked him, but I didn't think he was as great as they made him sound out to be. They made him out to be, but I liked him, and I thought he was a lot better than he showed on the Jets. And they had a crappy head coach, a crappy general manager. Everything about that team was crap. The offensive line was crap. No weapons for this guy at all. And it was like Daniel. It was the same thing with Daniel Jones. It was like an intentional sabotage. I realize it wasn't intentional, but man, it was a sabotage. And careers are destroyed because of this crap. I'd like to see Sam Darnold get another chance somewhere. I'm not saying necessarily as a starter just yet, but I think this guy could actually. I think Sam. Listen, you might think I'm crazy. I think Sam Darnold can be a starting quarterback in in the NFL. I do. Not on a great team, but let's say he was like a number two, like a backup somewhere on a good team that has weapons and has at least a pretty decent offensive line, and your starting quarterback goes down. I think Sam Darnold can. I think Sam Darnold can keep that team afloat and keep them competitive. So I kind of, what I'm trying to say is I do actually have some belief in Sam Darnold, and I'm sorry what happened to him. I think his career was derailed because of being drafted by the Jets, and who was running the Jets at that time. It was absolutely horrible. Okay, so let's go on. The Browns are 7-9. They defeated the 7-8-1 Commanders 24-10. Commanders had a chance to, if they got the win, they would still be in the playoff conversation, but they lost. They are out of the playoffs. They are eliminated. We'll see what happens with Ron Rivera in the offseason. I wouldn't fire Ron Rivera, not yet. I think Ron Rivera is a pretty good coach. He's been to a Super Bowl before. He used to take the Panthers to the playoff pretty regularly, at least every other year. And I think the Commanders had bounced back at some point. Like in like the middle of the year, they had a really bad start. They bounced back once Wentz went down. They put Heineke in. The key thing is the team needs a quarterback. No matter who the head coach is for the Commanders, that team needs a quarterback. There are a lot of quarterback free agents who are supposed to come out into this class. Well, including Daniel Jones. If the Giants actually, if they can't come into agreement with the Giants, there's also Geno West, who I would Geno Smith, who I would assume would stay with Seattle, but you never know. And there's some others as well. So the Commanders may, via free agency, may have a chance to upgrade quarterback position, but they got to do that. They got to upgrade the quarterback position. Otherwise, they're going to be staring at the same thing next year, and that is complete mediocrity. Because the Commanders do have talent on both sides of the ball. I think the defense is overrated. Listen, I like the interior. I like the defensive line, and I like John Davis. They need more. They need more in the secondary. They need more linebackers. Um, but still, they do have talent on the defensive side of the ball, and they do have some nice weapons on the offensive side of the ball. The key thing is the Commanders need an upgrade at quarterback. Otherwise, it's going to be more of the same mediocrity next year for the Commanders. Browns are 7-9. Given everything they've gone through with waiting and waiting and waiting for Deshaun Watson to finally show up, uh, Browns have listen. They're 7-9. But they're not exactly oozing in talent, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And they're getting by with their backup quarterback for a while there. Deshaun Watson, I think he's got like 2 wins under his belt now. it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Browns next year with a full season of Deshaun Watson, and if they can upgrade some of the players on offense. Obviously, they have a great running game, but they need to upgrade the wide receivers. Amari Cooper had a really big game. I love Amari Cooper, but guy's kind of injury prone at this point in his career. He's always been kind of injury prone, and you can't rely on him to be a wide receiver one. But the Browns are in good position for next year. But again, Commanders, man, you need to fix that quarterback situation, or it's going to be just extended mediocrity. Okay, the Jaguars are 8-8. They defeated the now 2-13-1 Texans 31-3. Jaguars took care of business. They've been one of the hottest teams the second half of the season. Their young talent is showing out. I love this team. I love the way this team is trending, the direction they're going. They've got the right head coach. Um, look at the year some of these guys are having. Like Trevor Lawrence is having a phenomenal year. Travis Etienne, they've got some playmakers on the defensive side of the ball too. I realize the sexiness is on the offense, but the Jaguars have some pretty good young talent on defense as well. And look at Evan Ingram. Came from my team, the Giants. Many Giants fans, or at least I certainly always said, but other Giants fans too said, Giants never used the guy correctly. And the head coach, I always blank on his name, but used to be the Eagles head coach when they won the Super Bowl. He's now the head coach of the Jaguars. The guy knows how to use tight ends, and he's been, especially the second half of the year. Engram has been super hot. He's one of the top. He's one of the leading tight ends in the league this year now. I think with yards and receptions, the guy's playing like a Pro Bowler. I think he might be like he's one of the top tight ends in the NFL this year in terms of production. In terms of yardage and reception, especially the second half of the year. Engram has been super hot, and he's been a big reason why the Jaguars have been putting a lot of points on the board too. So I'm very happy for Evan Engram. He was always listen with the Giants. He was injured quite a bit, and he had a share of drops, but it was really blown out of proportion just because the Giants never had any leeway for any mistakes at all. So any drop by any receiver was always blown completely out of proportion. Ridiculous. He was never really used correctly by the Giants. Again, bad coaching by the Giants for a long time. Evan Engram goes to a team with a good head coach who knows how to use tight ends. Evan Engram is succeeding, and I'm not surprised at all. It's one of the things I called earlier on this year that I wouldn't be surprised if Evan Engram had a career resuscitation down in Jacksonville starting this year. So I'm not surprised by it at all. And good for Evan Engram. Solid character, really, really good guy. I'm really happy for him. Jaguars are now in first place in the AFC South. Um, they are going to be playing the Titans. We'll get to that later, but Jaguars look like everything, they've got it all. They've got their own destiny in their own hands. So I'm really pulling for the Jaguars. Okay, the 49ers are 12-4. They defeated the now 6-10 Raiders 37-34 in overtime. Jarrett Stidham, is that his name? The quarterback for the backup quarterback for the Raiders. As we all know, Carr was sat by the head coach. They put in, is it Stidham or Statham? I forgot. I remember him coming out of the draft a few years ago, and he was one of the quarterbacks that I'd like for like a late round pick, like a developmental guy. If he was going to take him like in the fifth round or something like that. I think the Patriots wound up taking him, and then the Raiders wound up trading for him. I think this offseason. Guy had a hell of a game. He had a hell of a game. I still think that Carr should be the starter. He's probably going to be a free agent this year. I highly doubt he'll be back with the Raiders next year. It's a shame. I think Derek Carr is a quarterback. I realize things did not go well on offense. They traded for Devontae Adams. That offense should have been good. Josh Jacobs was having a great year as well. The Raiders' defense was not good this year. And again, a lot of this goes back to coaching. First of all, I don't think Josh McDaniels is a good head coach. I'm not going to fire him just yet, even though I can't stand that guy and I would never hire that guy. He's hired. He's hired by the Raiders. I'd give him at least one more year. But the defense blew quite a few of the games for the Raiders. Raiders put up some points. They put up, I think, a decent amount of points. The Raiders defense blew quite a few of those games, and that's not Derek Carr's fault. I realized Derek Carr didn't have the season that many of us expected because they had Devontae Adams, but also Hunter Renfrow did not have a great season too. I was expecting him to take a big step forward. He was like a really solid receiver last year. Where's Darren Waller? He signed that big contract. Where's Darren Waller? I think there's a lot that's failed around Derek Carr. to be honest with you. So if I'm Derek Carr, I don't know. I may be looking just to one. Listen, he's gone anyway, I assume. But if I'm Derek, I assume management has made the decision. He's gone. If I'm Derek Carr, I kind of want to get out of there at this point anyway, and just look for a new venue to go to, which is a shame because I know Carr want to be with the Raiders long term. But listen, man, I think McDaniel's is an idiot. I think that the Raiders defense blew quite a few of these games this season. And I think Carr should be there for at least one more season, but what are you going to do? Anyway, the 49ers did wind up pulling this game out. It was looking really, really scary for them there throughout most of the game, but they did tie it up. Uh, the Brock Purdy story continues. 49ers are looking really good, putting up a lot of points behind Purdy at quarterback, leading the offense, and they're 12-4. And I don't think the 49ers are in position to get the number one seed if the Eagles lose. I believe, and I could be wrong. I believe if the well, maybe if the Cowboys and the Eagles lose, I guess the 49ers could possibly get. I'm not sure if well, you also have the Vikings who have a good record too. I'm unsure about that, whether or not the 49ers still have a chance to actually get the number one overall seed, but whatever. 49ers are definitely a team that nobody really wants to play. One of the teams, that nobody really wants to play because they have a really good defense. Their offense is always so hard to contain. And with the rookie quarterback, Purdy, even with the rookie quarterback, the 49ers offense is hard to contain. It's hard. It's like a riddle that's really hard to solve. Okay, the Seahawks are still in the playoff hunt. They got a chance. They're 8-8. They defeated the now 7-9 Jets. 7-9 Jets, 23-6. Jets have been eliminated. Mike White had a really, really bad game. Listen, I was never on the Mike White hype train. He is better than the game they had against the Seahawks, but I was never, listen, if you're a Jets fan, don't go into next season wanting Mike White as your starting quarterback. I don't think he's an NFL starter. I think Mike White is a guy, number two quarterback. If your starting quarterback goes down for a few games, you can feel very comfortable with Mike White leading the way for you. He is not a full time starter. So I don't know. Again, this potentially is going to be a pretty deep quarterback free agency class. Jets may have some options, and I say potentially because you got names out there like say like Geno Smith. I assume he's going to be re-signing with Seattle, but who knows? Maybe he'll want more money than they're willing to pay. Daniel Jones, I want my Giants to keep him. I've always loved Daniel Jones. He's balling out this year. Um, I don't know. Maybe the Giants decide not to keep him. Maybe they can't come to an agreement. So there's potentially a good quarterback free agency class coming out that maybe the Jets can, because they're not going to be in a position, as far as I know, they're not going to be in a position to really, draft one of those premier quarterbacks in the early first round, unless they want to take like an Anthony Richardson and later in the first round, and take at least a year to develop that guy. That guy would need at least a year to develop. So you certainly couldn't, count on him next year, but there may be some options for the Jets next year, but they do need to. And I wouldn't jettison Zach Wilson just yet. I wouldn't declare him the starter next year either, but I wouldn't jettison him either. I want to try to build that guy up. On the sidelines in practice, build this dude up. He probably never should have started last year to begin with. I think that's the thing is like all these teams feel fake pressure, this fake pressure to start their rookie quarterbacks, even when they're not ready, to start them because of this fake idea that you have to win a Super Bowl while you're a star quarterback and his rookie contract. I don't buy that. I don't buy that. You have a better chance of ruining your quarterback by starting him too early and screwing him up than you do winning a Super Bowl within the first 4 or 5 years of his rookie contract. So I wouldn't jettison Zach Wilson just yet. Give the guy a chance. Give the guy a chance. I'm not saying start him next year, name him the starter, but I'd keep him at least as the number three and try to develop him. But anyway, Seahawks is still relevant. They still have a chance at the final playoff spot in the NFC. Final score was 23-6. I'll just leave it at that. Okay, the 8-8 Packers, they're now 8-8. They kicked this stuffing out of the now 12-4 Vikings, 41-17. It's crap like this why nobody fears the Vikings. It's crap like this. They're 12-4. They almost lost to the Giants last week. And then I think they lost the week before that, I believe. The Vikings, they've been looking really bad coming down the stretch of the season here. I know they're 12-4. But it's crap like this why nobody believes in the Vikings outside of Viking fans. And Vikings fans, I'm not mocking you. I'm not mocking you. I'm not mocking your team. I'm talking about just their history of being like this. Like you should be, you're a better team than the Packers this year. I realize the Packers, should have been better than 8-8 at this point in the season. You look at the talent on paper, the Packers never should have been at 8-8, week 17. I get that, but Vikings, you are a better team than the Packers. And there's no way you should be losing a game like this. But anyway, the Packers, man, like I said, it's like with the Patriots. You can never count on a Bill Belichick team. You can never count out an Aaron Rodgers team. Um, here they are, a chance to get that final playoff spot. I believe if the Packers win, if they beat the Lions next week, they're in. Um, so if the Packers and the Lions are playing next week, I believe if the Packers win, they're automatically in, regardless of what happens in Seattle in the Seattle game. But anyway, so Packers defeated the Vikings 41-17. Man, that was just ugly for the Vikings, but kudos to the Packers, man. They were written off by many of us, including myself, a few weeks ago. Up until a few weeks ago, the first half of the season, I'm like, I can't give up. Aaron Rodgers just has that magic. Like, even though he doesn't have wide receivers or he's got unproven wide receivers, the dude's going to make things happen. And then finally, I had to relent and be like, yeah, Packers are done. Of course, as soon as I say that, the Packers start winning games, and here they are with a really good chance to get that final seed in the NFC. Okay, the Chargers are now 10-6. They defeated the now 5-11 Rams, 31-10. Chargers, I believe, guaranteed playoff spot. They're fine. They're in. Rams, season from hell, but really, who cares? Just because, if I'm a Rams fan, you know what? I'm just happy that I won the Super Bowl last year. That's all that matters. You had so much that went wrong this year. Stafford's been injured most of the year, playing with a bum shoulder. You lost Cooper Kupp, even though the season was pretty much over by the time you lost Cooper Kupp. You lost Cooper Kupp. This team needs a rebuilt offensive line, and you need some friggin' running backs. Okay, please get some real running backs. That's what the Rams need, and Cooper Kupp needs help. And that's another problem is that it was only Cooper Kupp out there. That's it. They need a legit wide receiver alongside Cooper Kupp. You need a running back. You can get that fairly easily, and you need some upgrades at offensive line. Rams can be back next year as a real playoff threat. Okay, the 8-8 Steelers, man, just like the Packers, just like Belichick, just like Aaron Rodgers, the Steelers you can never write off. Here they are playing with their rookie quarterback. They're not having a great year, but they've got a chance to get that last playoff spot in the AFC. They're 8-8. I called it. I called this upset. They defeated the Ravens 16-13. Ever since Watt and Minka Fitzpatrick came back like 4 weeks ago, 4 or 5 weeks ago, the Steelers team has been winning games. And it's still they're not an offensive juggernaut. They're not going to be. They're playing in a controlled offense right now. They're not trying to go crazy with explosive plays. I think they realize obviously they have a great coaching staff. And again, the theme of this show, this episode is coaching matters. They've got a great head coach. They're developing Kenny Pickett very, very well. And the defense is winning these games for the Steelers right now, man. And anytime you have these two teams, this is like one of the best rivalries in the NFL. Steelers and the Ravens. These are always good games. The Ravens are 10-6. They're going to the playoffs. They're going to the playoffs. But the Steelers have a really good chance too. Ravens are going to the playoffs. They don't look good. They don't look like Ravens that we're used to. This is not like a dominant team in any. Their defense is not dominant. The run game, yeah, the run game is good. Without Lamar Jackson, this team's in big time trouble. Even with Lamar Jackson, this offense is limited. There's only so much you can do with just Lamar as a running quarterback and a good running game. They do need like a legit wide receiver one to help Lamar out. I do think Lamar is fine as a quarterback. I do think he's got a strong arm. I think he's accurate enough. I think the thing is that he needs a real wide receiver one would help the dude out so much. It's just and also Mark Andrews. Can't forget Mark Andrews. He's just phenomenal. Besides Travis Kelsey, he's the best tight end of the game besides Travis Kelsey. But Steelers, man, hats off to them. Just like I said, just like the Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay Packers, and the Bill Belichick Patriots. You can never write these teams off. Unbelievable. Okay, so the Bills are. This is the final game. It was the Monday night game. The Damar Hamlin game. The Bills are 12-3. I believe destiny. I don't know what's going to happen with this game. I don't know. Uh, I believe destiny is still in the Bills' hands. I'm going to assume this game is going to be continued at some point. I don't know how they're going to do that. I assume it's just going to happen. That's my assumption. I don't know what they're going to do, but anyway, Bills are 12-3. I believe as of this Monday night game, they had the number one overall seed. The Bengals, I actually picked the Bengals to win this game straight up. The game was being played in Cincinnati. Bengals have been as hot as anyone. Bengals had a slow start to the season. Ever since then, they have been as hot as anyone. They're looking so damn good. I picked the Bengals to win this game in Cincinnati in a close one. Anyway, we know what happened with Damar Hamlin. Um, so I don't know. That's it. There's really nothing else for me to say. Um, Bengals are making the playoffs as well. Anyway, that's it, guys. All right, let's move on to the Week 18 picks. Okay, let's do this over here. And I did so much better in Week 17 with my picks, at least with the spread, than I normally do. Thank God. Week 17 with the spread, I went 9-6. With for me this season, with the spread, that was good. I've been not so good with the spread this year. Week 17 results with the spread, I was 9-6. Straight up, I was 10-5. Year to date, here are my year to date results so far. With the spread, I am 125, 121, and 6. So I'm barely over 500 with the spread. Straight up, I'm kicking butt. Straight up, I'm 156, 97, and 2. Okay, let's do my week 18 picks. And this is based on ESPN.com's spreads as of about an hour and a half ago. Okay, Chiefs at the Raiders. The Raiders are getting 9.5 points. I'm going to take the Chiefs giving the points and the Chiefs straight up. I believe the Chiefs are still playing for seed positioning. They may have a chance at the number one seed, so they'll be playing for that. So I assume their starters are going to be starting. And you're going to have the backup quarterback going for the Raiders. And he had a really great game. He had a really great game last week, but this is the Chiefs. The Chiefs are playing for something. I'll go with the Chiefs giving the points and the Chiefs straight up. Okay, Titans at the Jaguars. There is a changing of the guard in this division. The Jaguars are, that just everything went wrong for the Titans this year, really. And it started in the offseason when they traded A.J. Brown and Treylon Burks, their first round pick. He shows a lot of promise, but most of the season he was injured. But he's been playing well ever since he came back from the injury list. Treylon Burks he's been flashing. He's been flashing, but it hasn't been enough. Tannehill's been injured. Jaguars are giving 6 points in this game. I'm going with the Jaguars giving the points and the Jaguars straight up. Jaguars are going to win this game. They're going to win this division, and the Jaguars are going to the playoffs. And quite frankly, they deserve it in that division. Buccaneers at the Falcons. The Falcons are giving 4 points. I'm taking the Buccaneers getting the points and the Falcons straight up. I assume the Falcons are giving 4 points because I assume the Buccaneers they've sewn up the division, so they sewn up the playoff spot. Nothing to play for. I assume they're going to be resting most of the starters, but I still think the Buccaneers are going to keep it fairly close, but the Falcons will. So I'm going to take the Buccaneers getting those 4 points. I'll take the Falcons straight up. Patriots at the Bills. Interesting, man. Patriots at the Bills. The Bills are giving 7.5 points. I'm going to take the Patriots getting the 7.5 points, and I'll take the Bills straight up. I mean, man, I could see the Bills just really giving it to the Patriots, just like in honor of Damar Hamlin, and they're playing at home. But the Patriots are playing for something too. They're playing for a possible playoff spot. This is Bill Belichick. Um, nah, you know what? I'll tell you what. I gotta go with the. I gotta go. I'm gonna change this right now in front of your eyes. I'm gonna go with the Bills. The Bills, I think, are gonna. I'm gonna take the Bills giving the points and the Bills straight up. The Bills are still playing for like that number one seed overall. They're going to want to really, kick butt in honor of Damar Hamlin. So I'm going to go with the Bills giving the points to the Bills straight up, even though, like I said, Bill Belichick is a great equalizer, and the Patriots are playing for a playoff spot as well. I think the Bills are really going to kick their butt in this game. Vikings at the Bears. The Bears are giving 7.5 points. Um, I assume that's because the Vikings are going to be resting people. That's kind of a crazy spread. Hang on one second. Bear with me. Let me just check this out real quick. Let me double check that spread. Let me double check that spread because the Vikings might be playing for seeding. I mean, they're in the playoffs, but let me check that spread because I was trying to do this quickly before. And maybe I messed up. So yeah, okay, Minnesota. I'm sorry, people. I'm sorry. I messed up. I was doing this in a rush earlier. So the Bears are getting 7.5 points. Okay. I'm going to take the Vikings giving the points and the Vikings straight up. Okay, Ravens at the Bengals. The Bengals are giving 7 points. I'm taking the Bengals giving the points and the Bengals straight up. Ravens don't look good. I believe the Ravens already have both teams already have playoff spots sewn up. But the Bengals have been like the hottest team in football for a long time now, and the Ravens have been very mediocre, very very mediocre. So I feel very comfortable taking the Bengals, giving the 7 points, and the Bengals straight up. Texans at the Colts. The Colts are giving 2.5 points. Man, if I'm either of these teams, I don't want to win this game. I don't want to mess up my draft slot at all. Both of these teams need a young quarterback, and I'd be afraid to win this game if I were either of this team. However, the Texans have been hanging really, really, really tough with pretty much the entire season. They only have 2 wins, but they've been playing very respectably, and they really haven't been getting blown out too often. So, kudos to them. So I'll take the Texans getting the points. I'll take the Texans straight up. But if they win, I hope that doesn't screw up the number one spot. I'm not sure if the Texans have the number one spot in the draft sewn up. I know they've got it right now. If the season were to end today, the Texans would have the number one pick in the draft. But if they win, does that screw it up for them? I'm unsure. Uh, but man, if I'm either of these teams, or at least the fan base of either of these teams, I don't want to win this friggin' game. But listen, like I said, the Texans have been playing tough the entire season. I'll take the Texans getting the points and the Texans straight up. Jets at the Dolphins. And let me double check this too. All right, so Jets at the Dolphins. The Dolphins are getting a point. The Dolphins are getting a point. They're starting the third string quarterback. Uh, I'm going to take the Jets, even though the Jets are eliminated. The Dolphins are in a position to get a playoff spot, so they are playing for a playoff spot. But they're starting the third string quarterback. The Jets are still playing. I know, listen, they're playing for their head coach. Rob Sala is not giving up in the season, and he's not conceding this game. They got Mike White playing, and I know Mike White had a bad game last week. I think he's going to have a bounce back game. I think Mike White will have, you know, at least a very respectable game and good enough to win this game. I think the Jets are going to win this game straight up. So I'm going to take the Jets giving the 1 point to the Dolphins in Miami, and I'll take the Jets straight up. Jets defense will probably be a problem for. Listen, I know the Dolphins still have those two great wide receivers, but I believe they're playing a rookie wide receiver. That's Jets defense. I think is going to be a problem for a rookie wide receiver playing at the last game of the year. Panthers at the Saints. The Saints are giving 3.5 points. I'll take the Panthers getting the points, and I'll take the Saints straight up. Browns at the Steelers. Steelers are giving 2.5 points. Browns aren't. Steelers are playing for possible playoff berth. Um, I think this will be a. I do think this will be a good game. I'm gonna go with the. You know what? It's in Pittsburgh. I'll tell you what. It's not a big spread. Originally, I was gonna take the Browns getting the points. I'll take the Steelers giving the points. Actually, I'll take the Steelers giving the 2.5 points. I'll take the Steelers straight up. Now, if the Steelers win, I don't know if they automatically get that playoff berth. I'm unsure, but Steelers are definitely playing for something. I'll go with the Steelers giving the 2.5 points and the Steelers straight up. The game is in Pittsburgh. Chargers and the Broncos. Let me double check this spread as well. Like I said, I was doing this in a rush, so I might have screwed this up. Again, this is Chargers at the Broncos. Okay, so Denver is giving 2 points. I assume the Chargers are resting everyone. I assume the Chargers, they've got their playoff seed cemented in stone, I guess, carved in stone. So I assume the Chargers are, going to be sitting everyone like Herbert, Eckler, anyone else that matters, and that's why the Broncos are giving 2 points. Since I'm assuming the Chargers are sitting all of their starters, I'll take the Broncos giving the points and the Broncos straight up. Giants at the Eagles. Eagles are giving 14 points. I'm going to take the Eagles giving the points and the Eagles straight up. It's going to be the Giants who are going to be resting some of their key players to be throughout the entire game, and I think the Giants are going to start the rest of their starters probably only for a quarter, for the first quarter, just to try to keep them sharp. And maybe if the Giants are keeping it close, maybe they'll keep the starters in. But you know, the Giants, it, it's not gonna. Yeah, I think the Eagles will take control of this game early. Giants will pull the rest of the starters after the first quarter, and the Eagles probably will win this game by more than 14 points. Eagles, if they win this game, they've got the number one seed all sewn up, so they've got everything to play for here. The Giants, even if they win or lose, they're going to have the number 6 seed no matter what. Okay, Cardinals at the 49ers. The 49ers are giving 14.5 points. I'll take the 49ers giving the points, the 49ers straight up. The Cardinals are just so bad at this point that, you know, even if the 49ers sat some of their starters, I would still think, they're going to win. They're going to win big. But I guess the 49ers are probably still playing for seeding. So I'll take the 49ers giving the 14.5 points and the 49ers straight up. Rams at the Seahawks. The Seahawks are giving 6.5 points. I'll take the Seahawks giving the points and the Seahawks straight up. Seahawks are playing for a playoff spot. Cowboys at the Commanders. The Commanders are getting 7.5 points. Cowboys are playing for possible better seeding. Obviously, they're already in the playoffs, but they're 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 playing for the possible number one seed overall in the NFC. So I'm going to take the Cowboys giving the 7.5 points. Sorry, that's ESPN. I'll take the Cowboys giving the 7.5 points and the Cowboys straight up. Lions at the Packers. What another great matchup. Okay, so the Packers are giving 4.5 points. Man, I think this is going to be a great game. It's going to be a great way to end the regular season for 2022. This should be a really good game. I'm going to go with the Lions getting the 4.5 points. I'll go with the Packers straight up to win the games in Green Bay. I know the Lions have been really hot the second half of the season. Packers have been winning games the past few weeks. They put themselves in position to, if they win, they're in. I believe if the Packers win, they're in. And this game is in Green Bay. Um, I can't go with the Lions in this game, at Green Bay until the Lions can actually prove that they can do that in this situation. Lions have had a great season, regardless of what happens in this game. Lions have had a great season. They're absolutely going in the right direction. They've got the right head coach. They got the right general manager, and they're building the team the right way. I love the way the Lions this season has gone for them, regardless of whether or not they make the playoffs. But beating Green Bay in Green Bay, even though this is not a great Green Bay team, beating Green Bay in Green Bay, uh, with the playoffs on the line is something else. And I'm not saying the Lions can't do it, but something like this, you're going to have to prove it to me first. So I will go with the Lions getting the 4.5 points in a close game, but I'll go with the Packers straight up. And people, that is it. That is it, folks. So you got one comment over here, and let me check it out. That's right, my friend Nino Brown checking in, baby. Joe always knows. Nino knows. Nino knows that Joe always knows. Anyway, guys, so those are my picks for the upcoming week 18 games, the final regular season games. Let me get the Twitter handles up here for me and all my compadres here at Towards the Titles. Please give us a follow. There's like 15 of us, and I still have to add like 2 or 3 names here probably. We're always adding new people. So, but please, if you could, Twitter handles here for me and most of my compadres here at Towards the Titles. If you give them all a follow, we'd greatly appreciate it. And just a friendly reminder, please hit that like button, subscribe, hit that bell, give us that 5-star Apple review. All of those things help us out a lot in terms of growing this Network. And I say network because we're not just program on YouTube. We also write articles. We do a lot. So we are a network basically. Toilets to Titles Network. Again, hit that like button, subscribe to us. Everywhere and anywhere, especially YouTube, but also Twitter, Facebook. It all helps us out. And if you got 30 seconds to give us a 5-star Apple review, it helps us out a lot. Anyway, guys, I'm out of here. Have yourself a great weekend. Enjoy the finale to the 2022 regular season, Week 18 games. Good luck to everybody and your NFL teams. And I'll catch you next week, everyone. Take care. And again, prayers to Damar Hamlin and condolences to his family. Let's pull for them that everything turns out okay and he's 100% healthy at the end of this. However long this road is going to be for Damar Hamlin, let's pray and hope that he turns out to be A-okay at the end of this road. All right, everybody, take care, and I'll see you next Wednesday.